dive into the scandalous unraveling of Milli Vanilli, once hailed as the sensation of the music world, now exposed as its biggest fraud. Join us as we uncover the shocking truth behind the duo's meteoric rise and spectacular fall. The start. In the late 1980s, Milli Vanilli, a pop duo, dominated the charts alongside other music icons like Madonna and Michael Jackson. Fab Morvan and Rob Pilatus, the duo of dancers and quote-unquote singers, shot to stardom and became household names with their debut album, Girl You Know It's True, which produced many #1 hits. However, the controversy that followed altered their lives forever. It began when German record producer Frank Farian heard the Baltimore band Newmark's song Girl You Know It's True at a disco in his own country. Frank Farian recognized right away that the song had the potential to be a larger hit. According to Billboard, he then set out to put together a group to rework the song, incorporating some Eurodance into the original hip-hop composition. He began hiring singers in 1988. Charles Shaw rapped on the song, and sisters Linda and Jody Rocco provided background vocal. Farian acknowledged, according to Shaw, that the music wasn't new. He simply began blending voices nonetheless and went along with it. You can't really hear the vocals or exactly who's singing because there are so many voices on the chorus, he said. Finally, Brad Howell and John Davis were added to the vocal mix. Farian was a skilled worker, that much was clear. Europe swiftly saw his rendition of the song gain popularity. All he needed now were faces to fit in with the musical group German-bred Pilatus, originally from New York, and Morvan, originally from Guadeloupe, were living in a Munich housing project at the time and were so desperate that they had to steal food to survive. Farian then approached the dancers and offered them $4,000 each to be the faces of the duo Milli Vanilli, which was named after Farian's girlfriend. Farian came back after the song hit the charts in England and said he had to have 2 faces for the project. Shaw continued. I was already paid $12,000 for doing Girl, and he said, keep your mouth shut and you can do the whole album. I'm thinking, that's studio work for me. Farian might have anticipated there would be a problem with the dancers' accents. Pilatus is German, and Morvan is French, had he known how well-liked the group of performers would become. Jody and Linda were also invited back for additional vocals. There was no real plan. We were just recording stuff real fast to get enough together for a 4-song EP for the American market. Then, Frank said Arista was involved, and he was talking to Clive Davis, Linda said. As expected, a record deal followed shortly after, leading them to believe that a group existed, but upon arriving at the studio, Linda, Jody, and another vocalist, Joan Falker, were the only ones present. Pilatus and Morvan would come in and go down to the basement where the pool was and hang out for a couple hours, Jody said. They'd make appearances, then go down to the basement, but they never sang a note or went into the studio. Moving on, fruitless fame. They managed to maintain the front somehow by saying they wished to maintain creative direction. They were able to prevent a representative from a record company from going to Germany. It wasn't out of the question, the Arista A&R manager at the time, Richard Swarett, told Billboard. Other producers would do their work and send it in. They just didn't want anyone in the studio with them because it's a creative, professional distance a producer wants to have. I respected that, and there was no reason to think that it was anything other than that. But a lot of dubious activity was taking place. To ensure that no one would know he was the real voice, Howell would be brought to the studio late at night, even after the other employees had left. It was a secret, the engineer on the album, Tobias Freund, said. We worked in the evening and closed the windows. Milli Vanilli had 4 other big songs. Blame It on the Rain, Girl I'm Gonna Miss You, and Baby Don't Forget My Number. 1. While All or Nothing reached at number 4. The music video for Girl You Know It's True quickly became a worldwide hit. To put it simply, they were in the limelight everywhere, and with that, doubts began to arise. Every time we gave an interview, the reporters would hear my French accent or Rob's German accent, and they'd say, no way! How could these guys have sung the songs? Morvan told the Los Angeles Times. To try to help, they even hired dialect experts who were paid for by Arista Records. However, quick fame didn't make things simple. Pilatus continued, we didn't want to do any more interviews. The more we talked, the worse things got. Fans, though, were captivated. When the pair appeared in Los Angeles, they were so badly swarmed that the police had to be called. Because overall, they did have their looks, movements, and charm. The only thing missing was the vocal ability that made it all possible. But the highs turned to lows very quickly after their rise came crashing down on them. The game over. It's understandable that they felt at ease performing live in front of an audience given their level of confidence. Furthermore, lip-syncing was common in that era since vocalists could become distracted by the responsibilities of performing live on stage. Rob and Fab were struggling to live with their secret while they relished the perks of fame. The group's backing tape broke at a Club MTV Tour stop in Bristol, Connecticut on July 21st, 1989. Rob became frightened as the phrase, Girl, You Know It's kept repeating, and he fled the stage. Their career wasn't impacted by the incident right away, but Rob would later refer to it as the beginning of the end. Strangely enough, they survived the 1989 performance and won Grammys and AMAs in 1990. Realizing their time was limited, Rob and Fab demanded to sing on Farian's upcoming album, turning against him in the process. Farian was forced to reveal the truth at a news conference as the conflict grew more intense. Despite the fraud, he never expressed regret, and in 1991, he published a new studio album called The Moment of Truth, which was credited to the original record's singers, the real Milli Vanilli. While Rob and Fab maintained that the label was fully aware of the fraud, Arista maintained that they had no previous knowledge of it. Rob and Fab made their own revelations a few days after Farian's press address, where Pilatus said, "We were seduced, we were abused, and we felt very guilty." A voice instructor joined them and gave the audience the reassurance that they could sing. Additionally, Milli Vanilli's record sales fell off, and they lost their Grammy Award as a result. In addition, the controversy led to a number of lawsuits filed by angry fans who wanted their money back. Beyond its negative financial effects, the incident forced the industry to reassess its ethics and standards, which sparked conversations about authenticity and the obligation to uphold a particular public image. For Rob and Fab, the consequences were disastrous. In 1993, they made their comeback with the publication of their self-titled album. They even performed live in front of a national audience on the Arsenio Hall show. However, the album, Rob and Fab failed, and the two former idols suffered from drug addiction. To lose everything so publicly was harsh, Morvan revealed on Oprah Winfrey's Where Are They Now? You don't know where to turn to because there's nobody around you, you're left alone. We were famous, and now we're infamous, just like that. While he later found his way back to EDM music, Pilatus never rebounded ever again. Pilatus didn't do well with humiliation, Morvan added. Being punched every day in the public eye leaves marks. The only way he could deal with it, for him, was the addiction. Unfortunately, Pilatus was discovered dead in Frankfurt at 33 on April 6, 1998, of a suspected overdose. When I heard the news of Rob's death, everything went blank at that moment. Silence, Morvan said. It was like losing a part of myself. In order to honor him, and for myself, I said a vow that I would do my thing. And I would make sure the name Milli Vanilli itself means when you fall, you stand back up and you move on. Heartbreaking, is it not?